Hello, everyone. Welcome to Turn Struggle into Purpose. My name is Jason Ursay. I am a survivor of 8 brain surgeries. I have lived with a disability for more than 21 and a half years. I would like to talk to you today, give you some more background about what I've gone through, and how I have been able to pick myself up every time life knocked me down. Just like anyone, life has set me back numerous times. Probably had more setbacks than most. Um, at the age of 11, I learned that I have a birth defect in my brain, or I had a birth defect in my brain called an arteriovenous malformation. Vascular malformation. Blood vessels in a part of my brain didn't form correctly, and these blood vessels fo- formed a mass. Uh, the blood vessels were weak and prone to bleeding. I also learned at that time that I had hydrocephalus, basically too much fluid in the brain. And this excess fluid was causing my migraines, as well as affecting my vision. And so at the age of 11, back in October of 1992, I had my first brain surgery. I spent, I think, 5 days in the hospital after that first surgery. I was in sixth grade at the time. And they the neurosurgeon inserted a shunt in my body, basically a tube that ran from my head down to my abdomen to drain the fluid out of my head. And obviously that was pretty traumatic, but I did come through it. I recovered, went back to school a week later, and resumed sixth grade. Just kept plugging along. Well, I felt better for a while until seventh grade. Got through the first part of seventh grade, then over Christmas break, seventh grade, I started having horrible migraines again. At that time, my family had taken a trip to the Panhandle of Florida to visit some friends and associates up there, and we had taken a motorhome at the time. I spent most of that trip lying down because I felt terrible. We eventually cut the trip short and rushed back down to South Florida. And I was rushed into emergency surgery. Um, this was between Christmas and New Year's of 1993. And so, right before the new year, I had brain surgery number two, in which a second shunt was inserted into my body on the other side. And spent a few days in the hospital that time. Spent New Year's Eve in the hospital, unconscious, and then I was back to normal. I was in seventh grade, a week later or so, and kept plugging along. And then got through ninth grade, and that's when I started experiencing terrible migraines again. I underwent my third surgery just as my freshman year of high school came to a close. And then I was good for a while. health stabilized and finished up high school. I graduated salutatorian of Lake Worth High School in 1999, and I kept going. I went into college. I completed my first year of college at Emory University. I then started and went to University of Central Florida for my sophomore year because it just cost too much to get to Emory. And so I was now closer home in Orlando. And during Christmas break of my sophomore year of college, I suffered a major bleed in my brain. AVM had bled. Long story short, I drug myself to the hospital. And I was diagnosed with the bleed in my brain. And then ended up coming back down to South Florida and scheduling a surgery, a radiation surgery called Gamma Knife, um, to try to eliminate the birth defect in my brain. And the surgery went well. After the bleed, I felt some numbness on my left side. But after that Gamma Knife surgery, the first one, the numbness seemed to go away, and I seemed to fully recover. And then, so I resumed. I took that semester, that spring semester of sophomore year off from UCF while I recovered. Then I resumed um, in the fall semester, and I finished up my undergraduate studies in 2003. I went to anyway. I got through college. I got my first professional job. I was working in Flagler County, Florida, at a small newspaper up there as a reporter. And then in December 2003, I experienced another bleed in my brain. This turned out to be very pivotal in my life. I was flown in a helicopter from the hospital in Flagler County down to Orlando, where I met a neurosurgeon there, and it was determined that I would have another Gamma Knife surgery. Ended up undergoing that Gamma Knife surgery in February of 2004. And then several months later, in September of 2004, I lost the ability to use my left hand. So that was obviously pretty traumatic and trying, but I made it through. Obviously, I'm still here. 21 plus years later, I'm still here. I'm still driving forward, still trying to make the best life that I can. So after that, I eventually had my my shunts were working too well in 2018, draining too much fluid from my brain, and I had to undergo another brain surgery, which valves were installed in my head to regulate the flow of the fluid. And so I was okay for a while. And in 2021, keep in mind this is during the pandemic, I developed a lump on my neck. Didn't really know what it was at first, but I had a suspicion that it was related to my shunt because the lump was right above the tube in my neck. And so through some testing, biopsies, it was determined that the fluid that was building up in my neck was cerebrospinal fluid. I went back down to Jackson Memorial Hospital and underwent surgery again um, with the same neurosurgeon who had performed the 2018 surgery. They repaired. It turned out I had a leak in the shunt, my original shunt, the first shunt I ever had, and so the doctor had to repair that that leak. Um, they inserted a new shunt, and turns out that I had developed a brain infection. That fluid in my brain, in my neck, had become infected, and the infection traveled up the tube, the shunt, into my brain. Um, so I ended up having two surgeries during that hospital stay in 2021. They had to replace the one valve that they had installed in 2018, and I spent some time in the intensive care unit at the hospital due to shallow breathing and poor heart rate. But somehow I I came through. Um, so that was so I had two surgeries in 2021. That brought me up to eight brain surgeries, and then so obviously you know, life has dealt me a lot of lemons when it comes to my health, but I'm still here. I'm still pushing through, still carrying on, still making the best of it. In addition to my medical problems, I've also had more than my share of romantic failures. But I had my heart broken numerous times, but I kept going, kept pushing forward, uh, putting myself out there, and eventually I met my wife, fell in love with her, and we've been married. It'll be 9 years this November. I can't say enough about Stacy. She's completely changed my life, brought so much happiness and joy to me. I've also had disappointments in my career. Had some jobs that fell through, and you know, career setbacks. But so basically, I want to talk to you about how I've been able to persevere through all these challenges. Um, it starts with an unwavering belief in myself, in my inner strength. That belief in myself and my inner strength enabled me to pick myself up after every setback and keep marching forward. I also have a belief that better days lie ahead. That belief has allowed me to push through the hardest times, hardest and darkest times that I've gone through despair and loneliness. I just believe. I believe in myself. I believe in the future. And I can honestly say that I emerged from that darkness with a greater appreciation for my strength, my health, my blessings. I truly believe I am blessed to be able to speak with you, to you, right now after all I've gone through. It's not, I don't take it for granted. I have gone through a lot of stuff, but somehow I am still fully functional and still very capable of accomplishing anything I set my mind to. It's not been easy, but I have done it. And I will not stop. I believe I have a mission now to share my story with people and hopefully inspire people to pull through their own dark times, believe in themselves, keep improving themselves until they get over the hump, emerge from their dark times stronger for them and ready to take on whatever challenges may come. So anyway, I do appreciate your time today. I hope you all have a great week. I will return next Sunday with another video. Thank you so much. Take care.